CA versus an MBA. This is probably one of the perennial topics which has been spoken about, discussed, and debated since a long period of time. There are usually quite a few notions, misconceptions, misunderstandings, and beliefs which people tend to have about this topic. For example, an industry would prefer MBA over a CA for a few select roles. Or maybe it is really difficult for a CA to crack those exciting roles which an MBA would be able to crack. I've seen quite a lot of students and even freshly qualified CAs who are trapped in this confusion of whether to pursue an MBA or to directly jump into their professional career once they have qualified. Should they be investing their 2 years into getting an experience of a B school, developing their personality, learning there, or should they get on hand, on the field experience at a corporate? So today we have with us somebody who will help us bust all of these myths, who will help us answer all of those burning questions, because he is somebody who has successfully managed to clear his chartered accountancy as well as his MBA from one of the top B schools we have, which is IIM Kozhikode. So welcome, Neil. Thanks a lot for agreeing to do this.
Hi, Harshit. Thanks for the introduction.
Neil, let us jump straight into the conversation. Would you please share your academic journey so far, spanning from your boards to CA to cracking CAT?
Sure. Yeah. So basically, I did my schooling from Visanji Academy in the ICSE board, and I scored 95% in my 10th grade. Then moved to Narsee Monjee College for my 12th and my graduation. I scored around 86% in my 12th and graduated BCom with a CGPA of 6.7 out of 7. I was an average student throughout my college life and also pursuing chartered accountancy, so was a backbencher, as most of us are, and not really paid attention to too many BCom lectures. Yeah, that being it, I cleared my chartered accountancy in the first attempt in May 2018. And after that, I gave it a thought instead of deciding to go for a job. After reflection, I decided to go and give an attempt of CAT, got through CAT and converted IIM Kozhikode, decided to join it. In between, I also completed one level of my CFA. And of course, the second level is pending thanks to the COVID pandemic. That's a brief about my academic profile.
All right. So from academics, moving on to your articleship experience, I believe you have done your articleship at a mid-sized firm. So what were your experiences there and what were the areas which you got exposed to while you were doing your articleship?
Yeah. So I did my articleship at two mid-sized firms. First, I worked at Mehta Choksi and Shah Chartered Accountants. There, I was primarily into auditing and some amount of taxation. I audited in the real estate sector. And as far as taxation is concerned, I did the routine return filings as well as helping with drafting and litigation. From there, after 1 year, I moved to Bhatia & Associates LLP. There, during the 2 years at Bhatia, my focus was primarily on valuations and transaction advisory services, doing commercial due diligence, financial due diligence, and doing DCF and relative valuations and preparing pitches, information memorandums for small private companies. That was roughly my articleship experience.
Okay, great. So once you qualified as a chartered accountant, what was the thought behind pursuing an MBA, and what ignited that spark कि मुझे MBA करना है and I don't want to start with my professional journey directly?
Correct. So to put it in a funny way, actually, I can say that when you don't know what to do in life, you decide to do an MBA. But on a serious note, once I cleared CA, having an idea of how things work in auditing and taxation, so I had got an idea and I had a lot of options in front of me. There was audit, there was taxation, there was finance and accounting, equity research, and I frankly didn't know what to do at that point of time. What I decided was that I would try to reflect and understand my skill sets and what are my strong skills, what are my weak skills. And based on that, I would take a decision. So what I did was that I realized I had a couple of strong areas. One is my articulation ability. which is my ability to structure things, communicate and write very effectively. And the other were my people skills. That is talking to people, understanding their situations, negotiating, bringing harmony to teams. So these two are my strengths. And of course, having cleared CA, I was decent at number crunching and analytical skills. But I believe that number crunching and analytical skills were not really my my strongest point. And I also realized that be it audit, be it taxation, or be it other CA related fields, the primary driving skill would always be your number crunching and your analytical skills. No doubt, people skills, structuring, all these come into play, but those are not your primary skills. So I decided to look a little further. I took a piece of paper, reflected deeply, wrote down all possible career options. And based on, I had talked to professionals in most of the fields. And I had a vague idea of what skills are required in which industry. I mean, nobody can know for sure before going there, but based on interaction, whatever you can understand, based on that, I mapped my skill sets. And to my surprise, I realized that the real things that the things that I wanted to do were probably journalism or UPSC, but taking such a drastic turn at this point of time did not make sense. And there were other reasons I didn't want to do that. So I looked at the next best thing that was feasible for me. And I realized that roles post MBA, such as your general management, management consulting, even investment banking to an extent, these are the roles that would use my skills to the best of my abilities. And hence, I decided to give CAT a shot. I thought that let's give it a try. If I convert, then we'll see what can be done. And that made me go for the CAT. So here, one more thing is that I always had this belief that no role, I mean, there are no right or wrong roles for you. There are roles wherein you are more suited, where your skill sets are more suitable, or your skill sets are less suitable. If you get into a role where your skill sets are more suitable, life and work will be easier for you, growth will be easier for you. Otherwise, things become a little difficult. So that was my entire approach to this MBA kind of thing. And however, from what I have observed, there are people who get into an MBA because they see a lot of other people getting those 35, 40 lakh packages. I'm getting into the glamorous world of investment banking and management consulting, McKinsey's and Morgan Stanley's of the world. But to be frank, these are buzzwords, and you really need to look beyond these buzzwords. You need to understand what a career in management consulting or investment banking entails. What are the top skills required? What is the life of a management consultant or investment banker? And based on that, if you want to lead this kind of life, whether you have the skill set to lead to go into this kind of career, and then decide whether you want to do an MBA or not. I think that would broadly be it about my reasons to pursue an MBA. There's one more reason. So, of course, you can get into investment banking as a chartered accountant as well. It's a little more difficult. But I think what an MBA does is it lends a lot more credibility to what you've done. Because as a recruiter, you trust that if there's a person who's an MBA graduate, he has gone through a very structured process wherein he has acquired the kind of managerial business skills, people skills, articulation, time management to survive in a corporate world. That same thing is kind of not tested in chartered accountant, although he may or may not have that kind of skill.
Right. I mean, for those who can spot it, there is real gold lying in your answer here. And something which I also advise a lot of people who come up to me. When you are making a decision, you obviously consult many people. However, the decision-making point should be your inner self. You should identify with the skill sets which you possess, jot it down, and then map it with the profile which you are looking to get into. So just relying on what people say, the buzzwords, and what the industry perceives a particular profession to be is not an appropriate way. So great, you elaborated it really well. Moving on to a question which bothers a lot of chartered accountants. It is a sort of notion that it is easier for an engineer to crack CAT because of their so-called upper hand in the quant section, which is the mathematics section. So how easy or difficult was it for you as a CA to crack CAT and to get into IIM with all the interview experiences that followed?
So yeah, I believe that here you're largely correct when you say that an engineer has an advantage because of the quant that he has been exposed to throughout their lives. So the thing is that, yeah, they come in with a natural advantage, but it's not that it cannot be countered through sufficient practice. But I would say that out of three sections, that is quant, DILR, and verbal in CAT, you need one really strong area to get you a good score in CAT. Fortunately for me, verbal was that natural forte. So I was average in DILR. I was very strong in verbal, and my quant was poor in spite of the practice that I did. I could not match the level that an engineer can. And normally during my attempt, there were 33 questions. I could do 12, 14, 15, compared to an engineer who can probably do 25, 30, even all the questions at times. So I focused on my strengths again and ensured that my weaknesses, I just want to survive those two sections and not really excel in those. That was my approach. However, I had only 3 months. So I decided to go for the CAT in August for the November 18 CAT attempt, and joined classes, finished my classes in October first week, and had just about a month to prepare for the CAT. So given that time, I could not really hone my quant skills. And although I had a lot of time because I was not working as such, but that was not sufficient to, the limited time was not really sufficient to get my quant skills up to the mark. However, if you have more time on your, if a CA has more time on his hands, then probably you can do better in that area as well, provided verbal is not a very strong point. So you have to kind of compensate for weaknesses in at least one area. So if verbal is also a weak area, then you need to make one area a strength. That helped me get my score.
And if you could just briefly give a glimpse about how your interview experience was.
Sure. So firstly, I'll talk a little about the interview preparation. So the entire CAT interview preparation is a really eye-opening experience because this is a time when you really introspect and reflect about yourself. You look at things so minutely about what you want to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, why an MBA, why consulting after MBA, or why a particular role after MBA, why not take a job up as a CA. These are questions that will be asked you in your interview. And when you need to answer them, you need to have a degree of authenticity, even though you can fake answers, but I mean, that doesn't work all the time. So that was a real eye-opener. So even if you don't get through an interview, I mean, this process is transformative in terms of your personality. As far as my interview experience was concerned, the interview was based heavily on geopolitics because I had mentioned that as an area of interest. They asked me about my CA background, about my articleship. They asked me opinions on various geopolitical issues. They asked me some basic financial concepts, my life goals, and it was a pretty general interview, not centered on any particular area. However, that is, I mean, that can vary wildly across IIMs and across panels. That said, I mean, the entire experience of reading so many newspapers, being up to date with all the current affairs, going back to CA basics, finding out about my strengths and weaknesses with the stories to back them, with legitimate stories to back them, looking 10 years down the line where I should be and where I want to be. I think it was a really holistic kind of experience.
Great. Okay. So now you are a CA fresher making your way into one of the most beautiful campuses which India probably has, IIM Kozhikode. So please take us through your journey. What is the 2-year program curriculum at IIM Kozhikode like? What is it that you learned through those 2 years, and what is it that probably differentiates you from a bunch of other CAs?
Correct. So I had converted IIM Kozhikode and SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, and then I decided to go for IIMK, mainly because of the IIM brand and the campus and the experience of living in a city other than Mumbai, which most CAs don't have. So I'll just summarize the course structure for you. So at IIMK, there are 6 terms, 3 in year 1 and 3 in year 2. Your placements happen after term 1. And so term one is probably the most hectic term of your entire MBA. As far as the rest of the MBA is concerned, it's pretty much what you take out of it. Nothing will be fed on a spoon. There are hundreds of different things on offer. You have to pick and choose what you want to absorb. And that broadly would depend on what your goals and your aspirations for an MBA are. Some of the key takeaways, of course, the tangible aspect of improved CTC and a good job in the kind of managerial role that I always wanted to be in is there. But I would like to touch upon the intangible aspects a little, because those I feel are the real takeaways of an MBA. So first is, of course, the academic rigor. So across 2 years, I studied 36 subjects, and especially subjects in strategy, marketing, and operations. These are areas where a CA normally doesn't have any kind of expertise in, because this course is focused on taxation and accounting and finance. So here I got to learn a lot of different things about business through peers, through case discussions. The good thing about an MBA is everything is case-based. So there is a classroom discussion. You don't have to blindly agree to the point put forward by the professor. You have to counter that with your own reasoning. And based on the brainstorming that happens in a classroom, you finally arrive at a case conclusion. So I think that experience is a very different way of learning. The second thing is time management. Of course, I think chartered accountants are reasonably well versed and capable of managing time. But MBA was another level of multitasking altogether. So if I would describe term one for you, I was doing 4 assignments a day. Next morning, 6:30 a.m., there were submissions. I was awake till 5:30 in the morning, drinking 4 cups of coffee to complete the submissions. Next morning, you have to attend 2 placement meets. And my hostel was probably the farthest from the campus at the top of the hill, and my hostel was somewhere at the bottom of the hill. So, and the entire distance I had to go walking because I missed the bus. So, wearing a blazer in humid conditions in Kerala. So, attending 2 placement sessions in full formals, attending company PPTs at the same time, listening to attractive company presentations, and some of them are boring because they're not related to your fields. Then there are surprise quizzes happening. At 3 p.m., you will be informed that you have a quiz at 4 p.m. Report to the academic area. You don't know which subject the quiz is. Suddenly, you leave everything aside. You start to study in the 1 hour you have for that quiz. There are other things. So in the first term, you have all the committee clubs and student body interviews happening across campus. So you have to run 2 different interviews. Most interviews clash with each other. You are at the same time, you also have to study new subjects. For me, data analysis and certain other subjects I was not well versed with. For a marketing graduate, finance is something completely new. I had never experienced before, even in my articleship and my CA final. So another thing is perspective. So now my perspective about business and life is much wider post an MBA than as it was as a CA. So now I am friends with engineers, architects, doctors. But there are people coming from Tamil Nadu, Sikkim, Kashmir, Delhi, almost every state in India. Now I know how an engineer thinks, how somebody from North India thinks, vis-a-vis because of the cultural differences vis-a-vis Western Indian or South Indian. And people from government backgrounds, people from army backgrounds, what are their aspirations? It's a very, very different experience, and you get to experience the real India in a lot of ways. Next point being extracurriculars. So I served on the alumni committee of the college. There, of course, I got to interact with all kinds of alumni in corporate positions, in government positions, social sector, even movie making and film direction. So talking to them, I came to know about the nuances of various industries. So I never knew what management consulting was before going into an MBA. Things changed after that, of course. The next key takeaway from a B school is case competitions. So during your 2 years at any MBA institute, you will do some 20 to 30 different case competitions. And basically, a case competition is an imaginary problem given by some corporate, like an HUL, PNG, or a Bajaj Finserv of the world. And you have to present solutions to these problems to esteemed panelists who are CEOs or MDs of companies. You research 50 different industries, you make amazing PPTs, you learn the art of presentations, you learn how to tackle questions from a CEO of a company directly at you and your idea. So that brings in another level of confidence, it brings in polish. And plus you have pre-placement job offers and pre-placement interviews being offered. Some extremely intangible aspects that I would like to touch upon is firstly the kind of inspiration that I got during an MBA. So during 2 years, I was in the company of people who were studying UPSC, who were giving CFA level 3 along with their MBA. There were people who were national level sports persons, national level dancers, people who have read 500 different books in their lives. I mean, once I came into an MBA, before that I felt that yaar IIM mein aa gaye. Yahan aane ke baad first time I felt that everybody in an IIM is either equal to me or superior to me. So, I mean, that experience was extremely humbling. I think it made me realize that I have to utilize every minute of my life now. I was not an avid reader before coming to IMK. During my 2 years, I finished some 10-15 books myself. So that's some change. Lastly, a hostel life. I think a lot of CAs are not fortunate enough to get a hostel life. So MBA made up for that part of it. Bunch of amazing friends, parties, a beauty of one of the most breathtaking campuses of IMK. And I got to explore Kerala on top of that. So that was like the cherry on the cake. So, that was broadly my takeaway. Those were broadly my key takeaways from an MBA. One thing I would like to say is that an MBA is all about what you can take away. There are no fixed offerings here. It's basically what you can absorb. Be a sponge, go out there, absorb as much as you can, and learn. One more thing is that basically there's definite value. But a lot of these things can also be learned on the job. Time management, multitasking, these are things that you definitely, even making good presentations, these are things that you can learn on the job. So there is no cookie cutter or approach, or there is no standard straitjacket answer that you should go for an MBA, you should not go for an MBA. There are benefits on offer. There is an opportunity cost. There is a huge fee that you're paying. So you have to really analyze on a case-by-case basis based on your situation, your work experience, what you want to be in life, what are your end goals. Based on that, you decide whether you want to have all these takeaways or you are better off without an MBA.
There couldn't have been a better covered answer than what you just gave me. Thanks a lot for that. I mean, I understand that it is a grilling 2-year experience, but it cannot get any more better and enriching than experiencing the 2-year life at a B school, having made that sort of a network. So yeah, so great. Now moving on to your summer internship experience, you bagged the summer internship at a private equity firm, which is TRG. So how was that experience like? What is it that you learned there?
Sure. So during our summer placements, 2 private equity firms, namely Multiples Private Equity and the Rohatyn Group, had come to hire on our campus. So the Rohatyn Group ended up taking 2 people, and I happened to be one of the interns that was hired. So broadly speaking about the experience at TRG, so I'll just speak a bit about what TRG is. So TRG is basically a New York-based private equity firm. It has an India office to look after the portfolio companies that it has investments in India. It is primarily in the infrastructure sector, focused on electricity, roadways, and related infrastructure fields. So my project was related to a thermal power company in TRG's portfolio. So there is a sale of short-term power which happens on the Indian Energy Exchange, which is an exchange where electricity is traded. So the company had a strategy. The company had a certain amount of sales on this Indian Energy Exchange. So I had to improve the efficiency of their strategy of selling this selling this excess electricity on IEX, and I had to increase their profitability through this sale. So that was my strategy. Now, broadly speaking, in a private equity firm, there are usually 4 phases. You have the fundraising phase, wherein you raise funds by doing pitches based on your mandate. Then there is a deployment or an investing phase, where that lasts for anywhere between 2 to 4 or 5 years, wherein the deal scouting happens, investment opportunities are scouted for, and appropriate deployments are made. Then you have a monitoring phase for the next 5 to 6 years, wherein your portfolio companies are nurtured by you. Usually they are promoter-run companies, so they are professionalized. Proper processes are introduced into the company. You get in consultants like Bain and McKinsey to streamline these processes, so that you can derive maximum alpha on these companies, and you can achieve your 20, 25, 30% IRR that you have promised your investors. And of course, at the end is the 7, 8 or 10 years down the line is the exit phase of the fund, wherein you find out an appropriate time, opportunity, and deal to exit your investment. So broadly speaking, when we entered, the firm was in the monitoring phase, and hence the kind of work wherein you have to know intricately the nuances of the industry you're working in. In my case, it was thermal power. So I had to know everything about thermal power in and out, and because being a CA and a CFA, I barely had any understanding of what electricity, power, and energy is, and how they're traded or how they're produced. So the learning curve is definitely steep, but it was a great experience. The team was very supportive. In terms of training, so sessions where they walked us through the infrastructure evaluation, how it is done, what are the processes, how are pitch books prepared, how are information memorandums prepared, how it is passed on to the investment committee, how the committee decides the final one investment out of 100 different options. All that was also a learning experience. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the process is very unstructured because these are real life problems, and the firm themselves are looking for answers to these questions. So there is no templatized approach here. Of course, if you're doing a valuation, then that will be a templatized kind of thing. But to more operational problems, it's a very, very unstructured kind of scenario.
Okay, great. Now, Neil, I believe at the final placements, you bagged an offer from Bajaj Finserv as a management training sort of a role. And probably you haven't begun your journey with Bajaj Finserv yet. So all the best for your journey there. And probably we'll catch up soon for a part 2 of this, where you will probably, have us answer in great detail about your experience at Bajaj Finserv.
Sure.
Thanks a lot, Neil, for doing this with me, and I hope all the viewers and listeners do benefit out of this, and I'm sure that they will. Thanks a lot, Neil.
Thanks, Harshit, for having me here and helping me share my experiences. I hope all the viewers do benefit, and in case you have any queries related to MBA, IIMK, or any other queries also, you can approach Harshit or you can approach me. Specifically, I'm always there. I'll be glad to answer those.